Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday the 17th of March. So firstly, I'm going to look at the Bank of England first. What's the expectation today in terms of risk? Well, the risk is, we're expecting from previous comments, etc., and everything that can be built up, and another 0.25% interest rate increase. So the official bank rate there expected to come in at 0.75. Now the voting will be interesting. They put the voting. There was allegedly there was some voting that some wanted to go for at least one wanted to go for 0.5% last time. Now it seem to appear in the voting on the Forex factory here. But there was amongst some an expectation that it might be tightened by as much as 0.5%. Now, I'm just actually looking at a thing here. It's been sort of reduced, that chance, but it may still be mentioned. But realistically, 0.75, that's fully priced into the market, and well, we'll just have to see what happens. It's more the long-term view that traders will be looking at. Talking of long-term views, yesterday we also got the news from the FOMC, and it looks like they're pretty much online to carry on tightening up as previously forecast. So it was a sort of well, it's probably largely expected in the markets. Looking at what actually is happening in the markets, let's just get the euro here then. Actually, before we do, let's just clarify then what's coming out today. So we've got, as I say, the Bank of England was the lead rate there. We've had the Australian employment data, which all came out pretty good. We've got the Bank of England coming out at 12 o'clock. We've got Lagarde speaking at 9:30. Let's just check on that. Due to speak an event hosted by the Institute of Monetary and Financial Stability. That could well create some volatility when she speaks. It may just put some bits in there, so which we may not have heard. There's speakers out there this morning that have been chatting away, not making a large movement to the market, but they're speaking at the moment. Aside of that, then Philly Fed Manufacturing Index doesn't really make too much movement, and the weekly unemployment claims, and industrial production, monthly industrial production, but doesn't make a huge move normally on the markets. So, or an impact, that's the word I was looking for. So looking at the euro dollar then, and euro dollar this morning, euros, I mean, it had a couple of up days. Yesterday it had a much firmer up day, but nothing major here on the news. It's not moving one way or the other in terms of great big moves. Higher lows, higher highs in this 4-hourly picture at the moment. It's just testing the upper side of my my regression channel there at this stage, but a break of that sort of level running back into these prior highs would tip its cap that it could be finding further upside. Now, to be aware of, it's very early morning relatively. We do have an untouched daily pivot below. Any stalling in this moment, a double top, might just see it running back towards that daily pivot. So treading carefully at the moment on this. I treaded carefully yesterday, and well, the whip that we got 6 o'clock set into 7 o'clock, well, that was about it. The majority of the day there, given good reason not to be trying to trade the euro for sure. Anyway, for now, looking bullishish, but watch out for the pivot. Right, the pound. So the pound's actually finally picked up a little bit yesterday. I mean, the previous day, yes, it had ended up positively, but yesterday, Wednesday, it picked up here. It's looking a bit more bullish this morning. Whether this will change come news or whether it will just continue to get bullish. We're seeing dollar selling, obviously, across the market at the moment. Higher lows coming through here on the shorter time frame, a bit clearer in terms of what's going on. And we're between a rock and a hard place at the moment. We're nearly into the R1, untouched again. Daily pivot below. Some weaker than expected data coming out midday. I could see it coming back towards that level. Well, most people are expecting more of a bullish sort of tone taken by the central bank. They're pushing on with interest rate increases regardless of the financial cost it will be to the consumer. Anyway, I'll get off my my soapbox at that point. Right, moving on then to the dollar yen, and daily wise, well, continuing in that sort of mode to the upside. Really, it's stalled a little bit this morning. Again, looking very bullish for the dollar here in general, but slowing this morning, and I'm just coming down to sort of 60 minutes, already ticked its pivot off here. It looks to me like it's well, it's in a bit of a triangular pattern. Certainly, some would argue a flag. So if it breaks the top of that, well, more bullishness, maybe a push up towards yesterday's highs. But I do wonder if the dollar is selling a little bit this morning, coming a bit under pressure, where we'll see even the yen snapping backwards and testing some of its previous moving averages here. Aussie dollar, well, Aussie dollar continuing today. Had a really good day yesterday, which I was very pleased with. But it started this morning in pretty well. It's pushing up solidly. Commodity currencies, I think, will continue to do quite well, and it's certainly at the moment doing well. Just short of its weekly pivot at the moment. Got some further upside to be had. So solid steps through here. And it's consolidating where it is at the moment. Now again, an untouched daily pivot below, but it's quite a long way away. If it catches that TAR 1 first, the percentage chances of that daily pivot being hit is less, and as I said, it does look quite solid going through here. Right, that's the Aussie. Finally the Canadian dollar, looking here again. It started it yesterday, continued through on the US dollar being sold against the Canadian dollar. Canadian dollar picking up here and looking quite shiny this morning relative. As I said, I think it actually done it yesterday. I'm not too sure. What time was that? No, it hadn't done it yesterday, but it did put a lower high in. It confirmed a lower high throughout the day, and is looking like it's got some further downside at the moment, consolidating around these lows here. They could just break down. Now again, daily pivot above. If it bounces as we get into post 8 o'clock, if it bounces off these levels, I would expect maybe a move back to the upper side there. Morning grunt. Okay, that's pretty much the major pairs there. Looking across into commodity world and looking at gold. Well, let's come out and look at gold on a daily basis first. So it finally called a bit of a bounce yesterday. It had a bit of a rough old time there, having gone up and made some near-term highs. Okay, the 4-hourly 200 comes to the rescue and has given it some support, looking okay at the moment. It does look unlikely at the moment for its weekly pivot to be hit this week. It's not a week left, and it's not moving particularly fast. But at times we see a bit of action coming through. It is starting the right things with the higher lows coming through, a marginal higher low coming through. So things are just moving a little bit to suggest more upside, but once again, untouched daily pivot below. So a lot of these markets, they've got the same old picture of the potential that if suddenly we start seeing a bit of movement the other side this morning, they've got some targets. Right, that's gold. Oil, yeah, another one just catching a bounce this morning. So yesterday quite a dull old day really with oil. If you look at the range of yesterday's bar in there, not really moving too much at all. Consolidated. It's still in that consolidation area. So whilst it's picking up a little bit at the moment, it's really a case of, well, has it got the legs to do too much more before it comes back and tests these lows again? Another test these lows, could see it's running back down towards $90. Realistically, I think it might hang in around this area. I mentioned earlier in the week that the target by some producers was at the $100 mark, where they must be looking quite happily at these sort of figures and wanting to keep the oil price around these levels. Okay, that's oil. Moving on through to the world of crypto. If I can find the right chart, there we go. And the world of crypto. So yesterday, where we saw a bounce, let's get rid of that. Don't want the data on the bottom there. So we saw a bit of a bounce yesterday, but selling off again into this morning. Nothing's really changed here in terms of the levels sitting there above. In terms of resistance, it's still 46,000 before it gets on in a more bullish zone for me. Whilst it's down here, it can chop away as much as it likes, and its potential is it will chop away as much as it likes. And it's a range playing game probably down there if you're day trading it, but for a more position type trader or swing trader, it's not the place to be. Ethereum following suit largely. It's a nice positive day yesterday. It has got this lovely trend line, which you're sort of looking at the potential of breaking through. The risk with it breaking through when you've got such a lovely trend line is all the prior highs on the way. If it does get through, it's got to contend with. So there is that sort of risk there. Ripple just rippling along here. Just barely. But again, not really showing a clear hand. Yes, it did break that original trend line, which realistically I should remove because it's a bit irrelevant now. But it is very much chopping in its current range here, not doing too much at all. And the same, here we go. These other other cryptos, pretty weak in the main, still sitting around their lows. It wouldn't take too much for a lot of these to slide backwards. The Binance there just running back into the underside of the monthly pivots. Just put the pivots on these now just to give us a bit more of a guidance in terms of where the ranges might sit, the support, resistance, the target areas. So they're useful to have on there. Okay, a quick look into the indices and starting off. So good positive move overnight for the CSI. So it's a case to hold your horses at the moment, not necessarily be selling into. We're seeing a bit of dollar selling. Who knows, we might see a bit more upside in these, but or just a bit of resistance. They have, I mean, in particularly like CSI 300, it's come off really strong. So a bit more of a bounce. We'll then see if it's a dead cat bounce or whether it's got more legs in it. But the Nikkei 225, again, good gap up, but it's left the gap again. Those gaps are there to be filled at some point. But again, a positive session there. Time is 8 o'clock. We can look at the FTSE's just opened, looking like it's opening with a bit of a positive step in this at the moment. And well, yesterday was again bullish. It is my favorite of the indices in terms of the potential, and today, looking at the way it's moving at the moment, could be running up towards that daily 34, even at around about 7400. DAX is down a touch according to my little old Dubry up here, but it looks like a green bar unless it opened down a little bit, but it's up on its open but down on the day. Whew. Now it has run into its daily 34 there. The weekly and monthly pivot just sits slightly above that. It might provide some resistance. We'll watch that throughout the day, but a more bullish tone here. A lot of this may be coming on because of the discussions, the peace talks, etc. Ukraine, that some sort of resolution may be found. Hold your horses, I'd say. It may be the talk, but there was talk that they wouldn't go in and invade. Anyway, CAC pushing up here, running towards the monthly pivot at the moment as well. Potentially it's just short of the 34 there, but again, just a bit more positive. I don't want to be selling quite directly into them yet. Wait until they just turn around a bit. S&P's just, well, it's not quite so positive. It sort of moved It looked like it gapped up a little bit after the close last night, and it's back heading south a little bit at the moment. Up on the day, down on the open. Nasdaq again looking a bit southbound at the moment. Now the US equity markets, I would expect with interest rates being increased, you'd expect these to feel the heat a little bit, but realistically, as I've said many a time, these increases are so slim and so small relative to where the banks where things have happened before. Excuse me. Okay, sorry, I've got an interruption there. So we've got this move back into the 34. So here on the Dow Jones. Okay, so just running into that, it's stalling at that point. Again, break well, we'll have to be a bit more bullish, but I can see the reasons for a bit more of a positive step at the moment on these equity markets. The Nifty's gone pushing up, but I think particularly with the US markets, I think they'll roll back. Other equity markets, well, they might follow suit eventually, but for now, yep, bounce land for the equity markets, and just sit and accept those. Right, that is it for me. I wish you a great day, and I will catch you later. Bye for now. Right, let me just turn everything